So what is going on, guys? NandoPrince93 here with another video, and today we're going to talk about iPadOS 13.2.2 that's been released to everybody. You don't need to be a beta developer or a public beta developer, whatever the case may be, to get this on your either iOS device or your iPad device. So this is a very, very big update because there have been an abundance of issues with RAM management. And again, people keep saying it's, iPads and iPhones don't have enough RAM, how dare they put 4 gigs of RAM in a device that's so powerful. And I'll be honest, I don't think it was a RAM issue. I think it was a back-end coding issue where third-party apps weren't playing nice with this new iPadOS 13.0 and iOS 13.0 because all the Apple apps work perfectly. Even when the original 13.0 came out, there was no refreshing of the apps. I think I had like 12 different Apple applications open, and of course they're native applications, so they're gonna work and be made to work exceptionally well. Again, I don't think it was a RAM management issue. I think it was how those third parties were playing. They weren't playing nice with iPadOS 13.0 and up. But Apple did address those issues. But first off, let's start off with the build number, obviously, right? So if we hop into General, About, and then you click on 13.2, you guys can see I'm on 17B102. So that is the version of iPadOS that I'm on. Like I said, 13.2.2. And these things just keep, updating and updating. And there is something to say about the whole, I'm spending, $1,000 plus on this iPad and it's still updating a year later, right? A year later and this iPad is still not perfected, quote unquote. So that's what we're dealing with. Unfortunately, that's what we're going to be dealing with moving forward. And in typical Apple fashion, with all these updates, modem updates always happen. Again, ever since iPadOS 13.2, or specifically iOS 13.2, my modem issues have left, they've vanished. It is now doing great, especially in the subways, right? So I'm a commuter into New York City. I'm underground a lot because of the subway, and it's doing exceptionally well, especially when you're in between stops. Usually when I get to a stop, I have service, and then it starts going. By the time I get to another stop, there isn't enough time for it to refresh itself and start picking up data signal. But now it does that a lot quicker, and it does actually do that. So that is the modem updates that I'm witnessing firsthand. And then, again, the big one is the RAM management issue, right? So just to test it out, I'm going to test this out live, right? If I open up the Mail app, boom, you have the Mail app. I change it out of dark mode because it's a little easier to see for people. And then if I go into multitasking, usually if I go into the YouTube app, usually when I hop into the YouTube app, it just refreshes itself. And as you guys can see, it's still there. I'm gonna press play for a second. It's going, and it does work. And if I keep opening apps, let's swipe up, go into multitasking. Let's open up, LumaFusion. This is gonna refresh because this was open before the update, so that's normal. But if I go into OneNote, same thing, because these were all done before the update, and I had to restart the actual system. So if I go into them now, you can see that LumaFusion is there, right? Go back into YouTube. YouTube is still there without refreshing itself. So you can start to see that these third-party applications are finally acting like the iPadOS native applications, these Apple native applications that should have been happening from the beginning, but we finally have it. Again, it's Apple, giving us these quote-unquote features or updates that should have been there from the get-go, but now we're praising them because they're there, which is it's been the Apple motto for a little while now, and more power to them. The fact that they can get away with things like that, and I'm no excuse. I love Apple products. I'm not a big Android fan. I don't think I would ever switch to an Android unless iMessage, AirDrop, and like the H1 chip capabilities were accessible, things like that. And then 2 other major issues that were resolved with 13.2.2. If you guys say that 5 times fast, I'll give you $5. Just kidding. But 2 more issues that were addressed. Again, the Mail app is becoming more and more stable. Apparently, if you're using an Exchange server, which is usually the case if you're using work email, there was problems with loading. And now that seems to be fine. Again, I didn't really experience that kind of issue. I never experienced Exchange issues, but some people were, and that issue was fixed. And then lastly, I don't know if you guys noticed. I noticed this more on my iPhone than I did my iPad, but there was delays in charging when using a charging cable. So you would plug it in and then it would charge for 5 minutes and stop itself from charging, even though it's still, the little charge icon was still going, as you guys can see, like on the Apple Pencil here. The charge icon was still visible, but nothing was charging, and it wasn't because I was using a low wattage brick. It wasn't because I wasn't leaving it plugged in long enough. It was just an issue with the software. So Thankfully, Apple fixed these issues and they're continuing to work on issues. But for right now, I think Apple has created, an ecosystem or an experience that is unmatched. Like, people have been reviewing the Surface Pro X as a competitor to the iPad, and it's just not there, guys. Sure, the hardware looks great. I'm not gonna lie. The Surface Pro X looks amazing, but from a software perspective, there's just nothing that competes with iPad, iPadOS, iOS. It's just not there. Even macOS Catalina, like, Windows computers just can't match. Like, I use a Dell, 16 gigs of RAM, half a terabyte of solid state storage, i7 processor for work. It looks ugly, it looks chunky, but it should work perfectly fine. And the amount of time that it takes to load up when I open the computer every morning is unbelievable. And that's just something that you don't notice, or you don't actually do with an iPad. It's like if you lock it, you just press a button, you swipe up, I'm a little bit far away, and boom, you're up and running. So that's what you're dealing with iPadOS. There's no latency issues, there's no lag when it comes to the systems. And every once in a while it does happen, but it gets fixed and resolved very, very quickly. So those are the three main things that iPadOS 13.2.2 fixed, and hopefully that helps somebody out. And also comment below if you guys, I'm using the new mic that you guys should have seen the video before this one. I'm using the new mic now, so hopefully the audio quality is a little bit better and you guys are satisfied with what I'm doing now. So that's gonna do for this video. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and then comment below. I want to make a iPad Pro 1 year later video. If you guys are up for that, you guys want to see what it's like and see how this matches up to tech that's released, very, very recently. Because this machine is amazing. It still looks very futuristic. I'm excited to see where Apple takes this moving forward. So again, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and until next time, peace, guys.